So today, since we became exiles and have been living in Dharamsala permanently, in this place there are people who have faith in the teaching, including Chinese, as well as people who have no Dharma in the past, have taken interest in the teaching of the Buddha. So everyone is gathered here today. So Dharma teachings cannot be done by force, and religion or spirituality cannot be done by force. You need to think for yourself and try to develop peace of mind within yourself, and through that, physical health. And therefore, there's increasing number of people who are taking interest in the teachings of the Buddha, and then in China proper also there are increasing number of people who are taking interest in the teaching of the Buddha. Of course, it may not be reasonable for me to talk like this about myself, but I find there are more and more people taking interest in my teachings and me, and so amongst the different spiritual traditions, religious traditions in the world, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the reason why there's increasing number of people taking interest in it is because it talks about bringing about developing peace of mind, and that too not only through faith alone or through some kind of prayer alone, but by doing critical thinking and reasoning, using reasoning. And therefore, I have many friends who are scientists who take interest in and admire the teaching of the Buddha. In terms of psychology, the workings of mind and emotions, there's which is extensively explained in the teaching of the Buddha, and how to bring about peace of mind. People so different places where the Buddhism had not spread before, there is an increasing interest in the teaching of the Buddha, because it is not only talking about prayers, rituals, but using our mind to create peace of mind by understanding the workings of the mind, psychology. And so of all the different religious traditions of the world, so the Nalanda tradition researches on the workings of the mind and emotions and finds what causes our destruction of our peace of mind, which are pride, arrogance, jealousy, anger, hatred, and so forth. So knowing these, we, in this Nalanda tradition, we use techniques to overcome them for peace of mind. And so there are many people who come to see me, not necessarily as religious people. There are many people who come to see me. So, but people are taking interest in psychology that is found in the teaching of the Buddha. So all the different religious traditions, of course, truly help humanity, and they have good instructions, messages for the people. But with regard to the teaching of the Buddha, when we present it in terms of the psychology, the workings of the system of mind and emotions, then it becomes scientific as well. So we don't only keep faith in the Buddha or say, I keep faith in the Buddha alone, but we use our mind critically. And therefore, through reason, we try to develop our faith in the teaching of the Buddha himself as well. So today in the world, there is increasing interest in the teaching of the Buddha in the West, and particularly amongst the scientists. So, of course, the teaching of the Buddha is also at its low ebb at this point of time, very critical stage. But when people really think through reason and logic, then we find more people taking interest in the teaching of the Buddha. So it is very important for us to study the teaching of the Buddha, not just leaving it at lip service, giving lip service to it, and having some blind faith, but understanding the workings of the mind and emotions, and then trying to reduce our anger, hatred, jealousy, and so forth. So we are not talking about the past and future lives, but in this very life, when we deal with our emotions through the techniques that are found in the teaching, then it is very good, helpful for us. So I'm living as an exile here in India. So I meet more and more number of people who pay attention to the study of or the workings of our mind or psychology from us, trying to learn it from us. So having gained knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha, the purpose of it is to reduce our negative states of mind and bring about peace within oneself. So this is very important. It is not about having faith in the teaching of the Buddha as such, but it is very beneficial. So, with regard to the Buddha himself, he became enlightened at Vajrasana, or Bodh Gaya, as is known today. So, having become enlightened, then he gave his teaching on the Four Noble Truths, the general structure of the teaching. And then when he gave the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, he taught on the perfection of wisdom. So these teachings that are found in the Buddha's sermons can be compared and critically analyzed, through the scientific means. So I was born in a remote place in Amdo, where there were many Chinese who are Muslim Chinese. But with regard to the teaching of the Buddha, I can see that because it is based on reason and logic, I'm sure that it is beneficial to the world at large. So as soon as I wake up in the mornings, I reflect on bodhicitta, this altruistic intention for the benefit of all sentient beings, to become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, and also the insight into emptiness. And so these are incredible principles and teachings of the Buddha. So the Indian masters have written all these classic texts, and then many Indian masters like Chandarakshita and so forth have come to Tibet, and also Tibetan masters have visited India in those ancient times. So in this way, the teaching of the Buddha has spread in Tibet. And so we have kept the entire teaching of the Buddha. And so this is what we are able to share with the world, not only in Asia, but Asian region, but also in other parts of the world, different parts of the world, it is spreading. So without even having to think about the past and future lives, religiously. So whether you believe in these or not, but in this very life, the teaching of the Buddha can help you to reduce your anger, hatred, jealousy, pride, and arrogance, and that will bring peace of mind. And therefore, since logical approach is emphasized in the teaching of the Buddha, therefore, it is something new that we are able to have discussions and dialogues with modern scientists because of our approach, the Tibetan Buddhist approach to logic and reason. So this is something incredible that we have in our tradition, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And so it is also, this logical approach is also very scientific in thinking. And so so we are going to go through the teaching of like an introduction to the teaching of the Buddha through the teaching of the Four Truths. So the Four Truths are the truth of suffering, the truth of the origin of suffering, and the truth of the cessation of suffering, and then true path. So this is very, it's like a comprehensive teaching for bringing about peace of mind. So I am an ordinary follower of the Buddha, but when I think through the teaching of the Buddha with reason and logic, I find it practically helpful and useful, beneficial to myself. And so to my Dharma brothers and sisters too, I wish to say that, ask you to keep this in mind. When we talk about the teachings, the religions, it's not only about following some ritual and doing prayers in a temple or monastery, but we need to understand how, through the practice of peace of mind, bringing about peace of mind through the practice of altruism and so forth, we should understand the teaching from that point of view. So there's a question and answer session today. So the first answer question, what is the essence of Buddhism? The essence of the Buddha religion is to have a good heart, a warm heart, not thinking of hurting and harming others, but thinking of helping others. Sorry. So with this sense of helping and benefiting others and trying to overcome malicious thoughts and thoughts to harm others, that's the essence of the teaching. So next is how to develop compassion and empathy when you're living in a traumatic environment. So when you are in such a place, so it is like you have some kind of a contributing factor for your Dharma practice. Of course, you need to have understanding of the teaching of the Buddha. Otherwise, it cannot work. So the more, with the understanding, if you have the understanding of the teaching of the Buddha or religion, then when you are facing immense hardships, you will be able to use the teaching to counter your negative emotions. And so love and compassion really are helpful to calm your mind.
His Holiness, I have a question on why is the practice of emptiness important in Tibetan Buddhism?
So why is the practice of emptiness important in Tibetan Buddhism? So the reason why emptiness is important is Because Buddhism is about controlling our mind. There are two ways you can do that, through faith and through wisdom or intelligence. Now, in terms of the latter technique, what we usually see in our adversary is that they exist from their own side. But when you understand that the person or things that are harming you or have some kind of, when you understand that they do not exist the way they appear to you, but they are merely designated, then your anger towards that person or thing is reduced. So those things appear to have some kind of objective independent existence. When you are able to understand and gain insight into the fact that there is no objective independent existence of the things and beings, but they are merely designated, it really helps to reduce your anger and the negative emotions. So this is something that I have experienced myself. I do meditate on emptiness on a daily basis, so this is really practically beneficial to me. So when we when we see things, but perceive them and conceive them to have some kind of objective independent existence from their side, then that really gives rise to negative emotions. Whereas when you actually think the opposite, that they do not exist the way they appear, as if they have some kind of objective existence, then it helps to reduce your negative emotions.
Your Holiness, Chasidere, you always say one should be 21st century Buddhist. Please, can you kindly explain this? Thank you.
So it's saying Your Holiness often says one should be 21st century Buddhist. Please, can you kindly explain it? So we are in this new era, and there are so many things that we can learn. But amongst these different things, the knowledge and so forth, what can bring about peace of mind, relaxed state of mind, amongst all the different knowledges that we have, fields of knowledge that we have. So, bodhicitta, this altruistic intention to become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, which is called spirit of enlightenment, and the view of emptiness are really helpful when there are chances of turmoil through the different fields of knowledge and the hustles and bustles in the world. So by understanding the reality of how things exist and the truth of them, and by cultivating the spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta, and the insight into emptiness, one can bring about peace of mind within yourself. Although the external conditions may be unconducive, but you can turn that in your favor. So Buddhism is not about mere faith in the three jewels, but we use logic, emphasize logic. And so it is really helpful to bring about peace of mind and peace in the world at large. So thinking logically and using reason, it becomes scientific. So through that, you become 21st century Buddhist by understanding the teaching through logic and reason, and not merely by having faith, blind faith in the teaching of the Buddha. Like we have been in this tradition to keep lamas on a high throne, and if they have no knowledge and understanding of the teaching of the Buddha, that doesn't really help. So next we have the oral transmission of the six-syllable mantra. So Avalokiteshvara is the special deity karmically connected with the Buddha, with Tibet, the land of snows. And so we Tibetans recite the six-syllable mantra of Avalokiteshvara since our childhood. My birthplace, near my birthplace, there is a big temple, a monastery, Kumbho Monastery, sounds talk about. So when I was there, I was expecting to get some good porridge or noodles and tea. But when I heard young little monks reciting the Arapatana mantra of Manjushri and the six-syllable mantra of Avalokiteshvara, which we are used, as Tibetans, we are used to reciting. So at that point of time, of course, the kids do not have much understanding of the teaching, but they have faith in the teaching. And so with that faith, they recite the mantras. But after having studied the teaching of the Buddha, this teaching of the Buddha which has come down through the Nalanda Monastic University to Tibet, and having gained understanding of it, then though there are people like Chinese communists who say religion is poison, like Mao Zedong, when I was in China proper, I met with Mao Zedong, who praised the teaching of the Buddha and said that the teaching of the Buddha is Mao Zedong had told me that I have a scientific mind, but that religion is poison. So I sometimes feel that if Mao Zedong were alive today, his thinking may change. Because in reality, the teaching that we have uses reason and logic, and through reason and logic, we demonstrate the truth of the teaching of the Buddha. And so there are truth and reality in the teaching of the Buddha. And so Mao Zedong may have changed his mind by understanding the teaching. So with regard to the six-syllable mantra, the money mantra as we call it, so in all the three provinces of Tibet, traditional provinces of Tibet, we recite this mantra since our childhood. And so it is the unique mantra of Avalokiteshvara Arya Avalokiteshvara. It helps to bring about peace of mind. When you feel disturbed, mentally disturbed, reciting the mantra can help calm your mind down. So let us recite this Om Mani Padme Hum mantra together, one round of mala. So with that praise of Avalokiteshvara, which says your 1,000 hands represent the 1,000 Chakravartin universal monarchs, and with your 1,000 eyes represents the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon, you who appear to different beings according to their mental dispositions, Arya Avalokiteshvara. Venerable Avalokiteshvara, I pay homage to you. So this is the praise, and say the mantra. Through the virtue of having recited the mantra, may I attain the state of Avalokiteshvara and lead others to the same state. The Thanksgiving mandala. Is crowned and adorned with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Sumeru, the 4 continents, and sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha felt and offer it to you. May all living beings enjoy the perfect Buddha field. In the land surrounded by fence of snow mountains, you are the source of all good and happiness. Tenzin Gyatso, Lord Chandrasig, may you live until this cycle of existence comes to an end. The prayer of the words of truth by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You whose glory is an ocean of immeasurable qualities and who look upon poor beings as if they were your only child, Sugatas of past, present, and future, Bodhisattvas and your disciples, pray heed these lamentations of the truth. May the entire teaching of the Buddha, which dispel all torments of existence and peace, spreads to benefit the whole wide world with help and happiness. May those who hold them, scholars and practitioners, flourish in their practice of the 10 activities of Dharma. Utterly oppressed by the intolerable intensity of their negative actions, deprived beings are tortured by interminable suffering. Pacify their unbearable diseases, wars, and famines, and bring them the succor of infinite joy and well-being. In particular, the people of Tibet, inheritors of the Dharma, are being destroyed by the many evils of the barbarian hordes, malevolent and heartless in a river of blood and tears. Arouse the force of compassion that their torment may swiftly be stopped. Those hosts of savage oppressors, cruelly crazed by their own demonic passions, who bring ruin on both others and themselves, deserve our compassion. May they develop a complete vision of the right and wrong and appreciate the benefits of loving care and friendship since a long time. For all those who undertook hundreds of hardships for the sake of the doctrine, those who hold it, the country, and their compatriots, sacrificing their cherished bodies, lives, and possessions, Lord of the Padala Buddha field, protect them with your compassion. In short, Lord Protector of Avalokiteshvara, in the presence of the conquerors and Bodhisattvas, I pray, take under your care the Buddha field of the land of snow. That is the good result of the vast aspirations you have made right now and may swiftly come about. This last prayer may, whatever is undertaken by those malevolent beings, be they visible or invisible, who, due to their perverse